Welcome to this week's edition of The Walkthrough, where we check off every single week's most trending topics as it relates to your industry, real estate. I'm Byron Lazine, your co-host, along with Eric Simon, the broke agent. Coming back, he is a staple on The Walkthrough. He is the Woody Page of The Walkthrough, the king of Philadelphia, the now sponsor of the Philadelphia Eagles, the official real estate sponsor of those Philadelphia Eagles.
You got to stop. They didn't do the deal.
You didn't do the deal.
No, they didn't do the deal.
They didn't do the deal.
They didn't get enough sponsors. So
well, I'm not going to cut it. We'll just say you didn't do the deal.
I did the deal. They didn't do the deal.
We're not going to cut that. That'd be insane.
They went through his Twitter from like 10 years ago and they pulled out.
Tom Toole wanted to do the deal.
We signed. They didn't.
Tom Toole, the king of Philadelphia. There you go. Almost the official sponsor of the Philadelphia Eagles, but still a fan of the Eagles.
Yeah.
All right. We also have, for the first time on the walkthrough, the man himself, Jason Cassidy, the co-founder or founder, I guess founder of Refer. How do we say that?
Co-founder
of Refer.
Yep.
Also, Jason, that's it. I can't announce any of your big news coming up, right?
You know,
used to be a sponsor of the Padres, weren't you?
Yeah. We had a kind of a group buy-in thing, but we lost the naming rights to that last year. But yes, so for about 3 years, we were a Padres Premier Club sponsor. It was cool.
Awesome. Welcome to the show, Jason. Long overdue your appearance. Let's get right into the first topic. Commission Watchdog. No relationship between commissions and home prices. The Consumer Federation of America says a lack of discounts for more expensive homes shows the structure of agent compensation is both inequitable and inefficient. Okay, so they're saying that a house that sells at $100,000 and there's, let's say, a 6% commission on that. The house that sells at $1 million should have a lower commission. Those agents shouldn't be making more money. They're arguing, I guess, that every deal's the same. Every deal's, just as hard as the next deal. Tom Toole, your thoughts on that?
So Jason's definitely going to have a better perspective because the price points are different in our market. It's only 3 to 4% of all the homes that sell in the greater Philadelphia area are above $1 million. And those deals are 100% harder to put together. You got a smaller buyer pool, number one. It's harder to find people. The sellers expect more marketing, which raises costs. And a lot of agents don't have the skill to negotiate those sales when you're talking about some of the intricacies involved here. And just not that many of them sell. I mean, people think there's these deals all over the place. And I think we're a prime example of what most of the country is like. When you look at average sale price versus other places, we're right around that 100 index for the country. So I'd love everyone to think it's the same selling a $300,000 house versus $1 million house. When the pool of buyers is this small and people don't know how to find them, that home's not going to sell, bottom line.
Yeah, Jason sells in San Diego, as you pointed out. What's the average price point there, Jason?
Our average single-family home is $1 million.
So $1 million, and that's the average there. Here's what else the report said, Jason. I'll get your thoughts on this. Also listed several reasons that most sellers of multi-million-dollar home sales don't negotiate lower commissions, including limited seller information about agent compensation, as documented by consumer surveys and by research on the lack of information on rates provided by agents' firms. Preoccupation of sellers, especially those trying to match the sale of one home with the purchase of another, with sale, price, and timing. Concern that trying to negotiate a lower commission will result in less than optimal agent service. And finally, unwillingness of most listing agents to negotiate lower commissions, about 3/4 of agents in an earlier CFA survey. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think because it kind of ties into the bigger NAR lawsuit, right? That's happening right now. That's kind of dominating all the news space, and
correct.
They're not entirely wrong, which is weird because theoretically what they're saying is on a sliding scale. You know what I mean? The difference between a $600,000 home and an $800,000 home is not that much different. So why is the $800,000 person making more money? Now you could say that $100,000 to $2 million, sure. Right. There's a different skill set. There's more advertising dollars. I think what they're saying, though, is even within a $400,000 to $600,000, they mentioned it in the article, from a $400,000 to a $600,000, that's the same person. But the commission's not dropping as you go up, which is a sign of the inefficient, or what they're going to say is price fixing, right? Or what they're accusing us
Correct.
of doing. And so I kind of get what they're getting at. And it always goes back to me with the buyer side commission, because ultimately, like, the listing person, the listing agent, does work a lot harder on a $2 million sale than a $100,000 sale, because they're getting aerial drone photos and all this type of stuff. They have to appeal to a wider range. But usually the seller is willing to pay that. They know that they're getting a better service. They're getting more advertising. But why are we offering the same 2.5% to the buy side? That's kind of the tough thing there. Is are you really on $1 million sale offering 25 grand to the cooperating broker to bring someone? Because all they did was probably, we know that there's more to it to get the buyer, but typically they just walk the buyer in and they have the same level of work on their side, some paperwork, go into the inspections, that the 100,000 buyer did. So why isn't that skewed a little bit? And that triggers to them an inefficiency in what they're going to say is price fixing. Because I think what the other part of that is like the selling agent or the listing agent is saying, well, we have to offer 2.5% if we want to be competitive. You know what I mean? I think that's kind of like just the atmosphere we've created.
Here's what Stephen Brobeck, CFA senior fellow and the report's author, said in a statement. At the same commission rate, brokers selling a $1 million home receive 10 times the compensation of those selling the $100,000 property. That's the example we gave at the top of the segment here. One would expect that commissions on expensive homes would be discounted, yet that usually is not the case for buy-side commissions. In some cities, those selling high-price homes pay higher commission rates. The research provides additional evidence that the structure of agent compensation is the inequitable and inefficient. Here would be my argument to that and this CFA study. Why is a pair of MJ's shoes, sneakers, pair of Jordans, $220, but I can get a pair of Kyrie Irvings for $60? Is it because Kyrie didn't take the vaccine? Is it because that shoe fits differently? I'll tell you that I actually ordered a pair of Jordans earlier in the year during the winter, actually, and they were $220, and I got them, and they didn't fit right. They actually were squeezing my foot. So I went and instead of going back and shipping, I went to the Nike store, and I was just gonna get a different size. I needed like a half size bigger. Well, I get there, and then I ended up trying on those Kyries, and it was the right size. It was the 10.5 that I needed. So I bought them, and they didn't have the Jordans at the store that I needed. Anyways, long story short, they're both a shoe, but one shoe's better than the other, right? You do. I did get the Kyries. I did get the lower price. So this might totally debunk my whole argument.
Negates what you're talking about.
Yeah, completely works against what you're
saying.
saying.
most people are walking around in Jordans. You don't see anybody walking around in these Kyries. They're a workout shoe for me. But people wear the Jordans because it's a fashion statement. It's why I ordered it online. I'm like, they look cooler than these Kyries. They definitely look better than any of the LeBrons. It's more attracting to the eye. I feel better. Look good, feel good, play good. Deion Sanders used to always say that, right? And so there's a value that a consumer is going to place on a particular service as it relates to real estate. If this particular person can show me how they're going to walk me through the process, if they've got a network that is going to accomplish my goals more than the other people, this is a competitive environment. You can negotiate all of these commissions. There's a reason flat fees haven't worked, right? You don't know of any companies out there that have really taken over market share in this country by offering consumers a flat fee. So why hasn't the CFA, the Consumer Federation of America, gone out to consumers and asked them specifically, not a couple of silly surveys that they referenced, but really do a deep dive with consumers? Why are you willing to pay 6% on these homes when you could go and get a service that pays you, that you pay $500 and just list it on the MLS for yourself? They actively are seeking that level of service?
I think anecdotally, I just had this happen with a client last month, is that they were very willing to pay me 3%. They didn't quite understand why they had to pay a cooperating broker 3% as well, right? That's where the value they're like, you do all the work. I see what you do. You're working very hard, but why are we offering this guy who their agent probably, or their client found it on Redfin anyway, or found it on Zillow anyways? We're offering them the same amount that you're doing, and you actually have to front the cost of all the marketing. You're actually making less than the cooperating broker. They didn't quite understand that. Right. That was a tough thing for them to swallow.
Thoughts on the buy side there, Tom?
So I've seen in the MLS, like this is real life, that at these higher price points, there is a sliding scale. Like it's X amount on the first million, maybe Y on the next 500,000. So to say that this doesn't happen is just inaccurate. I also know there's companies around here that if they get a listing below $1 million, it's one fee, and above $1 million, they'll drop the fee. Even though if they're selling the home at 950, the 950 seller kind of gets screwed a little bit, and that's what happens. So I don't agree with their data because I've seen the exact opposite happen in the marketplace that's been in the MLS. And a lot of folks think that agents walk in, they say you have to pay the buyer X. I've seen in a lot of cases the listing agent takes more than the buying agent, and they do that to offset their marketing costs. So I don't agree with the data just because I've seen it in practice recently in the MLS disclosed, and it's just not accurate.
Haven't we recently seen a bunch of people are submitting content to me of the buy side being 1% or even $1?
Yep.
I've seen a lot of just $1 commissions to the buy side, especially like in the heat of the seller's
in
market.
The heat, yeah. Not as much today, but definitely like 6 months ago.
Yeah.
And on the Inman article, there's a bunch of comments that are talking about just that, Eric. One of them's the broke agent.
Doubtful.
What are these commission dollars you speak of? I've never made them. That's what this comment was.
Exactly.
No, I mean, and we split it that way. I mean, I do think that the listing side should get, a bigger split. You're bringing up the example, Jason, of 3 and 3 on a 6%. I would all day long say you're deserving of the 3.5 and 2.5 on the other side.
Totally. I think on that one, it was actually 5%, 2.5, 2.5. But like if I do take a 6, I will do 3.5, 2.5, or 3, 2.5. Like I'm not saying just that was an anecdotal version of what I was saying. I think he was just wondering why we have to even pay anything. You know what I mean? I think because the alternative reality, if this NAR lawsuit takes off and goes through, is that there is no cooperating broker commission at all, or it starts to compress a lot to the point where then the buyers have to maybe hire their own consult. You know what I mean? They have to pay out of pocket for a buyer representation. And so that maybe is getting into like the Australia model or the Europe model, where you just pay your listing agent and the buyers pay their own agent. I don't know if it's a whole nother topic, whether that's even a good thing or not. But
as an agent, it's a good idea to be prepared for having multiple plans on your commission. Right? Because commission is negotiable. And if somebody says, well, everybody's walking in the door saying 5%, do you have any other options for me? I've been, confronted with that question. Yes, I do. I have my 6% plan, my 7% plan, and my 8% plan. Which one would you like to hear about first? Well, what do you mean? I was talking more about the 3% or the 4% plan. Well, I have my 5. I offered you that first, but I love to talk about my 6, 7, and 8% plan. Let's get into the 8 and let's talk about it and break it down and show them what you'll do at that higher price point. By the way, sometimes when you give the higher price point first, hey, I have an 8%, 7%, 6%, and 5% plan, they can't take their mind off of that higher price point, and they may settle somewhere in the middle at 7 or 6. You'd be shocked how many people actually will gravitate towards a higher cost. It's what I did when I first went online for the Jordan. It's like I saw the Kyries on there, and it's like they're both just shoes. All it is working out and going to the basket, to the court. But I'm like, those Jordans are cool. It's only $220. Screw it, I'll spend it. Of course, they just didn't fit my feet right.
Yeah, no, we've established that. Yes,
but I gravitate towards that higher price. And if everything was the same, then every shoe would cost the same. Every car would cost the same, right? It would just, everything's not the same. Okay.
I would also argue you get what you pay for.
Oh, 100%. And that's why these flat fee models have historically failed. You don't have anybody that has great market share in the country on these flat, like I'll list your house for $1,000 or $2,000. It hasn't worked yet. because
Well,
the players backing up that offer haven't been good enough to win.
Mm-hmm. We had a situation with a Redfin agent where we had a listing that came on, and another agent in my office interviewed for the listing of this buyer's home, and they jammed him on the commission, said, "Oh, Redfin will do it for less." We calculated the dollars; it was like $3,700 less is what they made, and then for no reason they come in for a listing that was on the market for 15 days and offered well above the asking price with no other offers. Didn't even call our office. So the Redfin agent actually cost them money because the seller would have accepted the ask. And I think that's a great example of you're counting your pennies and you're losing dollars. And that's what happens a lot of times with these things.
You're a brilliant man, Tom Toole. What a segue. Topic number 2, half of Redfin home offers, now face no competing bids. New report says. So in the month of June, just under 50% of home offers written by its agents face competition on a seasonally adjusted basis, the lowest rate in over 2 years. This is according to Redfin. I don't know if they only had 10 deals in June, and we're talking about 5, but Jason, your thoughts? Are you seeing less competition?
Yeah,
in a great market like San Diego.
Yeah, I think 2 and our third topic. I'm not going to step on the lead, but our second and third topic are kind of together in a sense that it's a signal that the housing market's starting to slow down a tad, and it's not necessarily, I think we're a lagging industry. So we're 6 months probably behind everything else. So maybe we haven't seen the prices, because I think topic 3, it talks about how the price is still going up. But I think what we're going to see is that starts to adjust over the next couple months. And I'm definitely, like, anecdotally seeing it here in San Diego, where, for the last 2 years, if you listed a property, you had 20 offers on the first weekend, and now it might make it to the second week, So it's kind of interesting because we have all these buyers for the last 2 years that are like, I hate the competition. This is too crazy. I'm going to wait. And then now that there's no competition, they're like, well, why is there no competition? Maybe I should wait. Interest rates are up and, the market's going to crash. And so the buyers who are already going to wait are still waiting. And then the buyers who wanted to jump in are now jumping in. But it's absolutely slowing down.
It's like the people who said they were going to buy Bitcoin at 20,000 when it was at 60,000. And now that it's at 20,000, they're thinking, well, now it's just going to go lower. Why would I buy it at 20,000? Why is it at 20,000? And by the way, great execution on using the word anecdotally. It's very hard to say, and you've executed perfectly twice. So congratulations there.
Yeah, I'm never gonna try that word, by the way. Tom, buyers get spooked about everything, or they, to Eric's great analogy there, they're always looking for a better deal. Are you seeing less competition, same competition?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you're not just listing the home and it sells. We're seeing price adjustments. I mean, unheard of, right? For the past 24 months, we're seeing less than asking price offers get accepted on homes that would have had them 3-4 months ago. And we've also seen that there's some people that have dropped out of the market entirely because they were only looking because rates were so low. And it was they didn't really understand what was going on in the market. They just thought, oh, well, money's cheap, I'm going to buy a home. And they really weren't that motivated to transact in the first place. And that's what happens when rates come down to a really low level. This is really similar to when they had that first-time buyer stimulus plan that Obama rolled out, and all these people kind of came out of the woodwork and said, hey, I want some of that government money. And then some of them just weren't that motivated, and they were only looking because they saw the opportunity to lock in a lower rate, or in that case, get a tax credit. So we're seeing the same thing here. And to me, I see opportunity for real estate agents. I mean, if you're able to navigate this market and ask these questions and get people to understand what's happening economically at a simple level, then you're going to be able to take market share. And there's a real land grab that's going on right now, because you were joking around about Redfin. There's 648,000 agents in the country that haven't sold a home yet this year. And that's a stat that Tom Ferry dropped at the Gathering of Eagles a couple weeks ago. That's over a third of the agents, right?
The Gathering of Eagles? What the
Wait, is that a real thing?
It is.
What is that?
It's the Real Trends Conference.
Real Trends and Housing Wire own the Gathering of the Eagles. It's like the T360 Summit. It is a CEO invite type of a summit.
Crazy,
this has some Bilderberg kind of vibes to it here.
Gathering of Eagles.
What's going on?
For those of you that don't know, Eric, that is a annual CEO level conference.
Well, I am a CEO of the biggest media company in real estate, co-CEO, chief of content. So I'll be invited. I'll be an Eagle.
360.
Yeah, he did. Correct.
Yeah.
So I'll be an Eagle next year, hopefully.
Well, I had the biggest Eagle at T360 just completely walk through me like I was a cloud. Glenn
I saw it
Sanford.
firsthand.
I was going to say, was that Glenn or was it Rich Barton? Who
No, it
was
was Glenn. He just, treated me like I was walking air out there. What an eagle. All right. I would say on the flip side here, as agents, these buyers that now, when you're told, hey, we're in a competing offer, to the point of this Redfin study here, or the Redfin data from June. Hey, we're in a competing offer situation. Well, a competing offer situation could mean one competing offer that's been hanging around, by the way, for 2 weeks. Maybe they made an offer that they just haven't fully declined, and it's a bad offer, and it's just sitting there. And maybe that buyer, if they offered 2 weeks ago, like I have an offer on a property right now, I'm like, just keep it active. It is a standing cash offer. You can use it to your leverage if you want, but I think this is a great offer. Come back to me in 2 weeks when you don't have anything better. And so if that agent's out there using this, saying we're in a multiple offer situation, as the buyer, know that multiple offer situations, competing offers right now, is not what it was 3 months ago. You're not up against 13 and the home's going to go off the market potentially tomorrow.
I think that's why we're seeing prices still not drop completely yet, is because they're still going from 20 offers to 2 or 3 offers. That's still multiple offers. So it keeps the price right at listing, or, just about. And so it's a situation where it's coming down. We're not quite down yet, though.
Yeah. And so we'll move into topic number 3, because that fits nicely in these Tom and Jason with these segue, like tee ups, these assists. I am these guys are John Stockton. I'm Karl Malone over here. I'm gonna take it home with this. Eric hated the Karl Malone analogy there.
No, I liked it. I did have one thing to say about Redfin, but I don't want to ruin the transition. I had a little anecdote prepared.
Well, it's too late now.
It is too late. Just go ahead, Byron. I just destroyed
home
that.
sales fall for the fifth month as median prices hit a record high. So I'm curious in Philly and in San Diego if you're seeing the same thing. I looked on the Connecticut MLS. I have not I can look on the Florida MLS. I should look at this number. But anyways, in June, pending home sales for the month were down over 30% from June a year ago, right? And so despite that, we're still seeing record in our MLS, and this is national number here, record median sale prices. So sale of existing homes ticked down 5.4%. So this is closings, not pendings, between May and June, falling 14.2% from a year ago. This is nationally, as median prices rose to $416,000, according to National Association of Realtors. Jason, are you seeing a similar trend in San Diego where, despite there being less sales, there's an increase or a record-setting price pace?
No. So we were up till this month. So in June, we had our first month where the average price point actually came down. And so that's why I was saying, like, I feel like with, the interest rate jump was in March, right? Or it was like March, April, something like that. And so March, April, May, June, I think you started seeing, instead of 20 offers, there were 10, and then 5, and then 3. And you just need 2 to still keep your price. But we finally, this month in June, or last month, the numbers for last month, saw an average price reduction for the first time. Now, that being said, we're still up 40% since the pandemic, right? So a price reduction of 1%, it's still pretty high. But that being said, this was the first month. So if this was the curve, I would say we're right about here.
Now, but for the year, you've still seen price appreciation. Now with this 1 month of a 1% decline, we're starting to see that price appreciation stabilize, and potentially, if you see more months, it could be flat for the year. Or do you think
that's what I mean? So like June was still above January, yes. So like home equity is still up for the year, but it was lower than May, and so that's for the first time we're starting to see it tick downward. And I think, judging by what I've been seeing anecdotally, but then you see there's another article here about like home mortgage applications are down for like the 6th straight month too, right? That's a leading indicator versus a rear view mirror. I can say anecdotally, but I can't say rear view mirror. That's a leading indicator. So as that continues to slow down, I think you're going to start to see prices, because now instead of having 2 offers, you're going to go 2 weeks without an offer, right? And then you're going to start to see listings have to adjust a little bit.
Bobby, go back to the KCM chart. And this is a national look. So Jason's obviously talking about San Diego, which and San Diego's a high price, market in the country. But looking more at, markets that are closer to the median price points, across the country, you're still seeing national home price gains that are continuing to exceed 20%. This is month over month. Now, we don't have June on here. Maybe June's going to, have some type of drastic decline. Tom, do you believe that in median markets nationally across the country, we're going to continue to see double-digit gains? Are we going to continue to see price appreciation at all, or do you expect home values to actually drop?
So I know what's happening in our market, which is different than San Diego, because we're a meat and potatoes market. If you look at the home price index in the country, Philadelphia's at like 101.1 if 100's the average, right? So we're kind of right there. We've seen double-digit appreciation since June in the suburbs. In the city of Philadelphia, it's only been about a 5% increase in the median sale price. And I think that's happening in a lot of other markets where the more urban versus suburban markets are changing a little bit. In terms of the home sale, we've definitely seen home sales decrease anywhere from like 8 to 15% year over year, depending on what county you're in. So what I know, I look back at history a lot, and especially like 2008, right? And the most volatile markets were California, Nevada, Arizona, Florida, and Ohio. And we didn't really get hit as hard here in our marketplace. And I would anticipate we're going to see similar trends because, in San Diego, I mean, the prices go up pretty quickly. They go up a lot faster. Here, it's a little more of a slower increase. Still incredible, just a different market because it's more your like meat and potatoes market. So it's going to depend on where you're located. And I'm pretty comfortable in like your lunch pail sort of markets like we are, where you're closer to the median sale price. You're not going to see those same dips that you do maybe in California.
What's a meat and potatoes market?
It's what blue collar people like.
It's what 95% of the country is living in one of those, not in the fantasy land that is San Diego.
Well, in my kale smoothie market, so what was your you're right. I hear what you're saying because we saw an equity growth of like 20+% last year. You know what I mean? And that's a steep hike. And so of course we're kind of maybe seeing a steeper drop back down, whereas you're a little bit more toward the mean and you just kind of float a little bit slower. Yeah.
I just toured homes last week for a couple days in Naples, new construction homes, and the prices in these communities. This is another fantasy land market like Jason's in San Diego. The prices are just continuing to skyrocket. I was asking all these builders and sales center people like, hey, are you guys seeing less traffic right now? Nope. We've seen an increase in traffic in our new development. Now, South Florida is obviously one of the hottest markets still today in the country for a variety of reasons, but it's just insane to me that these $2 million price points are continuing to appreciate in certain markets. And here's why, because that $2 million house, these guys are building it for less than $1 million, by the way. It's not costing them. And the reason why, to Tom's point, in the blue collar markets, the what did you say? Meat and potatoes.
The Kyrie Irving markets, like Tom told. And then you have the Air Jordan markets. But your Air Jordans didn't fit.
The Brian Scalabrine markets. These kind of markets, you can't build a house for $350,000, for $450,000, and make a real margin with your labor. And so to see those prices drop substantially would be shocking to me, despite less sales, which we are clearly seeing across the board in every market. There are less sales happening, because of all the reasons that we know about.
It's another, so the $2 million price point, right? That those buyers are a lot less rate sensitive than a $750,000 buyer is, first time home buyers and whatnot, because they're buying cash, or heavily cash. And so they don't care as much about a jump from 3 to 6%. Whereas the first time home buyer, a jump from 3 to 6% can take them from 900 to 700 and take them out of the house that they wanted. So it's a little bit more.
Point. If this was PTI, your numbers would be flashing up right now.
All over the map. Absolutely. And by the way, that $2 million buyer, that $1 million buyer, do they have to buy? They probably already own their house, so they can be a little bit more patient. They're not like desperate to get out of a rental and be paying somebody else's mortgage necessarily. Some people may be, but I think that's a smaller percentage of the buyer pool.
Yeah. I've always said that everybody needs a house, but nobody needs a $7 million house, right? So that buyer is sometimes a little bit more picky because they don't necessarily at that point, they're just buying for whatever, peace of mind, to stunt on someone, right? It's like, everybody needs a house, but no one needs a $7 million house. So someone who doesn't need to buy at the time can sit on it a little bit longer too.
Well, sometimes when my two girls are screaming, I start to say, I need a $7 million house, Jason. I need one with wings and, soundproof rooms and all of that. But
go to Philadelphia. It sounds like you can get it a little bit more affordable there.
There are no $7 million houses.
No,
there's no $7 million house. That's the highest sale price ever in the suburbs. It was like 5 years ago, and that was the only one that sold for $7 million. So, yeah, you can come here. You can get a $2 million house, Byron. It'll feel like a $7 million house.
You get a $2 million house like
Philadelphia.
A $2 million house like Tom Toole. He is living at the top of the Philadelphia market.
I don't have one of those. That'd be nice.
All right, final topic. How do we extend the life of our post? If you're creating content on TikTok or Instagram right now, you're like, man, I've got 24 hours to make something of this. I better pay attention to the comments. I better pay attention to the DMs after I post it, because after that, this thing is shot. So Eric, how do we actually extend the lifetime of the life cycle of these posts?
Yeah, Jason Pantana, Tom Ferry coach, put out a brilliant video 3 days ago discussing this. If you want to play it real quick, Bobby, then I'll elaborate.
Facebook, Instagram, or wherever essentially has the lifespan of a fruit fly. Videos, images, all of them. They circulate through the feeds in a day or two, and then pretty much keel over into content oblivion. It's a grind.
All right.
SEO is.
So yeah, he's saying SEO is social media afterlife. But to drive home his point and your point, Brian, when you post something, you got like an hour, 2 hours to hit that like initial.
Bobby, turn the video off. I don't know if you guys could still hear that.
No.
There we go. All right.
All right. So
I could hear it in my ears. Go ahead.
When you post something, you have like 1 hour, 2 hours, and that like initial algorithm kick where everybody sees it. And then after 24 hours, 48 hours, nobody sees that post again. So he's saying the way to extend it is to actually embed your social media posts, your Facebook, your TikTok posts, your Instagram in actual blog posts, further elaborating on what you said in the Instagram post. And this is great for people that are doing market updates like Tom and Jason, or people that are doing kind of motivational stuff that want to like further drive home their point. So this can really help if you're Googling, what's going on in the Philadelphia market. Tom has a blog that says that, and then he embeds his Instagram post in that. That Instagram post is going to keep going. And then it also gives you content for these blog posts. A lot of agents have no idea what to even post on blogs. They don't know what to write. So they could basically just transcribe exactly what they said in their caption or in their video and put it into a blog post. So it's a genius tactic by Pantana. He said he's getting something with tens of thousands of views through Google that's still driving it to the same Instagram post because he embedded it.
Yeah, 100% right on. And just go on to brokeagentmedia.com, go on to BAM and look at the style in which we're releasing these blogs. It's exactly what you should be doing on your local blog. I think I gave the example, maybe even on the walkthrough a couple of weeks ago, about all of the tax content for, our local team in Connecticut that we've put out there. We're ranking in the top 5 search of Google for real estate taxes. And if we had a video attached to those, which we don't, which it's already on the to-do list, that video, to your point, is going to continually go up in views when you have it embedded BAM style. Look at the BAM blogs. That's how to do it.
Yeah. Also, he said in our refer network, Jason, so we interviewed Jason Pantana. This is a private mastermind / referral network that everybody should check out. We'll put a link down below. He said that the best posts to embed are actually Facebook posts, because those will play directly in the blog. So if you embed an Instagram, you'll have to click off the blog and play the Instagram post in a different tab. So that's a little tip there, also from Pantana. And then I just want to say, we made a blog post about Pantana's post about making blog posts. That's how effective this strategy is. And that blog post is getting a ton of traffic, and then also giving his Instagram post a ton of traffic.
Eric, one other tip there is make sure that if you do embed, say, the Instagram video, that you have the setting on the back end of your blog to, when they do click it, it creates another tab. It doesn't take over the blog, because now they're in Instagram, they're off your blog, but you want that blog tab to still live so they can go back to your website and check stuff out.
And one more point too. There was a recent statistic, I think it was HubSpot, that said now millennials and Gen Z are searching more on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, through social media, like more than 50% than they are on actual Google or YouTube. So Instagram is becoming very SEO heavy, I guess, in the sense that you should make your captions have a ton of keywords that people are searching. So, you should always have this in your profile too, like Jason, San Diego real estate agent, Compass, whatever. In the actual captions, you could have a ton of stuff about that property and about what you're saying that are like keywords that people could search for.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Jason, as we wrap up here, you want to just let everybody know what is Refer and who's come on as a guest speaker in these private masterminds. I know Tom Ferry is going to be on like today, right?
Next August 2nd.
Week? August 2nd. All right. So
August 2nd.
Who else has joined the mastermind?
Jason Pantana just came on. He was our fourth speaker session. So Refer is a nationwide referral network co-founded by Eric and myself. And basically we have one agent per city. And so, oops, I hit my mic there. One agent per city joins in and we pass referrals along each other, but then we also built out a mastermind component to it. So we bring in guest speakers, we do giveaways, things like that, always having coaching tips, all that type of jazz. And so, yeah, our last, I guess it was last week, we had Jason Pantana on, did fantastic. I loved his 30-second. Eric co-moderated that one with me. And then August 2nd is Tom Ferry, and that'll be co-moderated with Katie Day. Shout out to Katie. And so we're going to have a 30-minute interview Q&A session with Tom Ferry. But then we've also had Chris Smith on there as well, and did a giveaway of his conversion code book, which I think he's been on this with you guys as well on the walkthrough. And then so we have a bigger name guest speaker every month, and then we have more of like a niche guest speaker too. So we've had like a branding consultant on. In August, we have like a geographic farming person to come talk about like handwritten letters versus postcards, right? Something very kind of niche for the agents.
Yeah.
And so, and then September, we have Spencer Raskoff coming in. So it's like big, small, but we have, guest speakers coming in all the time.
Yeah, check out Refer, the links below. Also check out the KCM content below. You can try KCM for free. Try KCM.com/BAM. Get some of these, to done or branded and done for you content that KCM is building. And I'd be like Jason's talking about in the, prior segment where he's talking about, hey, San Diego actually did decline. I might be showing, my clients, here's the national numbers, but here's ours, right? And show them side-by-side graph, the one from your MLS, the one from KCM, so they get the full entire picture of what's going on in their market. Tom Toole, we'll let you go back to your $2 million palatial estate in Philly.
Get back to your nightclub. You look like you're in the bathroom right now.
Eric, I'll send you the link to those Kyrie Irvings, and we'll see you guys all here next week on the walkthrough.